Right, guys, today is another episode of Club Review, and today I wanted to have a look at Leicester City. Uh, yeah, they're having an interesting season. Okay, so Leicester this season has just been disappointment for their fans. I think that's fair to say. At the moment, I think they are 11th in the league, which is, a lot lower than they expected. It's pretty much where they were when I think Brendan Rodgers took over the club from Claude Puel in early stages of 2019. Um, but it's been a lot better than it has been now under Brendan Rodgers. But yeah, it's just been a really disappointing season for them. I think obviously injuries have played a massive part in that. Um, but especially at centre back with now Johnny Evans and Wesley Fofana in the team. So yeah, that's impacted the results massively, obviously. But also in cup competitions as well, it's not been good. Losing to Liverpool side in the quarter final when they were 3-1 up, and against a team who weren't at their best. Liverpool didn't have their best side out that night, and they still managed to lose on penalties after being 3-1 up. And obviously in the FA Cup, they've had an absolute shocker against Nottingham Forest, and also went out of the group stages in the Europa League, so that's quite poor. Although they did win the Community Shield against Man City, so I mean that is a plus. But in the league, they've had some good results against Man United, winning 4-2 and also beating Liverpool 1-0. But at the same time, they've had some really poor results, like against Tottenham was one that I found amazing for how poor it was. Winning 2-1 in the 94th minute and still losing the game is ridiculous. But yeah, it's just not been a good season for Leicester. Okay, so for me, Leicester's best starting 11 is still Kasper Schmeichel in goal. He's getting on now. He's going to need replacing at some point, but he still does a decent enough job for them, I believe. In defence, I've gone with Ricardo Pereira, who is quality when he's fit. Unfortunately, that hasn't been 100% of the time, far from it recently. And also in defence, I've gone with Johnny Evans and Wesley Fofana, who've played barely any minutes this season. I don't think Fofana hasn't kicked a ball yet, and Johnny Evans has played limited minutes to say the least. Left back, I've gone with Luke Thomas, who's a good young player, but he looks decent enough to me. I think he'll be a good player for Leicester for years to come. And I've gone with a 4-2-3-1 because that's their go-to, I think. And the two I've gone with is Wilfred Ndidi and Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, because recently Youri Tielemans has been absolutely shocking, so I have not put him in. And I think whenever I watch Dewsbury-Hall, he always looks like a player who just wants to play for the club more than Tielemans right now. So I've put him in based on recent performances. And then the three in front of that, James Madison in the number 10. He can be very hot and cold, but when he's on his game, he's very good. He did go through a really good spell just before Christmas. At the moment, he's having a bit of an average spell. Mark Albrighton on the right. I know he's not the most exciting player, but he definitely does a good job for Leicester. And then Harvey Barnes on the left, another good young exciting player on the left-hand side for Leicester. And also Jamie Vardy up front. He hasn't been, again, he's been injured a fair part of this season, but he's still a very good player for Leicester. Okay, so Brendan Rodgers, he's done overall so far. He's done a really good job at Leicester, taking them to well, Europa League 2 years in a row, and also like within the final day of getting them into a Champions League position until the final day, and they just somehow can't get it over the line. Both times. I think the first was against Man United on the last day of the 2020 season, and the second time was at home to Spurs, I believe, and Chelsea played against Aston Villa. And I think Chelsea dropped points as well, but Leicester lost to Spurs, so Chelsea did get a bit lucky that day. Um, but yeah, so it's been good under Rodgers generally. They've also won the FA Cup, obviously, and the Community Shield. So overall, he's done a good job and has improved the team in his time there, bringing in players like Harvey Barnes has become a first team player under him. Wesley Fofana is signing. Luke Thomas has also become a good player under him as well. And yeah, he's made a really good side for Leicester. However, for this season, it just doesn't seem to be working. I personally think it's just an off season and not something Leicester should be worried about. And I wouldn't consider sacking Brendan Rodgers for 1 minute if I was the Leicester board. Okay, so for incoming players for Leicester, I've picked the American goalkeeper Matt Turner. Now, I haven't seen much of him. I've basically just seen highlights on YouTube because I've seen he's been linked to going to Arsenal. And to me, he looks like a really good goalkeeper and like a cheap alternative to Danny Ward as backup for Schmeichel, who could potentially take over as number one if, well, Schmeichel is in his mid-30s now. He's a very good shot stopper and can save a penalty, as well as the fact that he has very few weaknesses to his game. So I think he would be a good cheap signing for Leicester. And then at left back, because even though Luke Thomas is doing really well, I don't feel as though they've got a real backup to him, because Timothy Castagna is better on the right side. And also Ryan Bertrand, whenever he's played this season, hasn't looked up to the level he was playing at for Southampton prior to his move to Leicester in the summer. So obviously with Brandon Williams, we've seen him play for Norwich and Man United over the past few years. He's one of these feisty fullbacks who just wins the ball, loves a strong tackle, and also is very young. So he's not the finished product and can improve massively. And then my final pick, this is probably a bit unlikely and a bit of a stretch, but Yuri Tielemans is linked to Arsenal at the moment. And I was wondering because I feel Leicester needs someone on the right-hand side, because as good as Albrighton is, they need another option to him, and Jose Perez just hasn't done it over the past couple of years. He had a decent first season at Leicester, but recently it's just not been going well for him. So I've gone with Bukayo Saka. I doubt it'd happen, but could you actually get him, like, if you gave Leicester cash plus Yuri Tielemans, could it happen? I mean, I think he'd play really well for Leicester. It's probably unlikely, but obviously we know what he's like. He's a brilliant crosser of the ball, a brilliant dribbler, wins a lot of free kicks, and also is very versatile, can play left back, left wing back, left mid, right mid, probably as in the number 10. We've never seen him play there, but he probably could. So yeah, he'd be a very good signing, I think. Okay, in summary, it's not been a good season for Leicester. I'd give it 4 out of 10. Following up from last season and the season before, where they both finished 5th. It's just not been good enough for Leicester. They're pretty much out of all cup competitions, except from the European Conference League, where they actually play Randers tonight, who they should be beating, let's be honest. I don't know what sort of side they'll put out, but they should be beating them. I think right now the only aim Leicester can really have is to try and somehow get a European spot with what remains of the Premier League campaign. I think they have got a few games in hand on a few teams, Leicester, to be fair. But yeah, that's the only thing they've really got to aim for right now.